Hello, everyone. Happy day 17. Happy day 17. Very excited to dive into today's topic. For those that have been joining live, as people are jumping on live here, what is it that you've been picking up? What is it that you've been enjoying in the topic of stewardship? It's not one of those topics where you're like, yay, I can't wait to learn how to steward more, right? It's not a buzzword. It's not a like, here's how you make more money. Here's how you have more peace, more freedom, which actually, when you steward things, all of those are a byproduct of what you'll receive when you learn how to steward better. But I know stewardship is not a buzzword. It's not a word that's typically talked about often. And if you've been following me for any amount of time, long story short, it is one of those things that I am grateful that I talk about things that most people don't. Does that make sense? Like, I'm really grateful for that because there are certain things that just get talked about all the time ad nauseum. And it's like, okay, we get it. But there's usually a deeper issue. If you're not making the money you want to make, if your relationships aren't in the space that you want them to be, if your mindset is crazy, if things are chaotic, like all the things that are buzzwords that we all want more of, hope, peace, money, fulfillment, like all of those definitely come back to how you're stewarding what you have. But again, stewardship is not a topic that most people will talk about, but it is something that the Lord has been highlighting and has been hammering and chiseling and pruning inside of me really deeply on a deep level this year. And so I just feel a calling, a leading, a push, a nudge, all the above to be able to share this with you because so many people are wondering, why don't I have X? What is wrong with this? Like, I need more, I need this. How are you stewarding what you have? And so over the last 17 days, we've talked about stewarding the season you're in, relationships, money, mindset, the purpose that God's given you. I mean, so many different aspects of stewardship. So definitely go back and watch the replays, whether you're watching here on Facebook, you're watching on YouTube, LinkedIn. On YouTube, I do have a playlist that is basically all the lives that we've done so far here over the last 17 days so far, but will be 30 in September here in 2024. So you can always go back and watch the replays. But today's topic actually came from a friend of mine. When I announced that I was going to be doing this before I got started, a couple requests came in of, hey, can we talk more on this subject? And the subject that we're going to be talking today is stewarding life's unexpected turns. The twists and turns. You're focused on what you need to be focused on, but then whoop, there comes a pivot. Whoop, there comes a block in the road. There comes a divot. There comes things that come at you. Because when you were truly focused on your purpose, where God has you, whether that's full-time, part-time, or just a little bit of time, there are going to be distractions that come up. There are going to be things that are going to try to get you off course. That is just how it goes. Not that we wish for those, not that we want those, but I tell people, if I was the enemy, if I was Satan, he comes to kill, steal, and destroy. So if I was him, not that any of us want to be, but if I put my thinking cap on just for a second, what could I do to get you to be delayed in the promise, to get you to get frustrated, to doubt God, to doubt, is this really my purpose? To doubt, am I really a leader? To doubt, can I really do this? To doubt, is that dream, did I hear that correctly? Is that something I can actually have? And doubt typically will come in when you are just dry, when you are bone dry in your faith, bone dry in the promises that he has for you. Also not being in the right environment that is going to uplift you and pour into you, knowing that these trials will come. It's not a matter of when, it's just a matter of, or it's not a matter if they're going to come, it's just a matter of when. Not that we're wishing them on us, but we understand that that's going to come. So one of the things that I love to talk about with unexpected turns is reaction, or let me back up here. One of the things I want to talk about with unexpected turns is being proactive versus reactive. So being as proactive as possible, what does that look like? How can you steward these unexpected turns in life? Let's talk about being proactive versus reactive. So proactive is, okay, well, life may be going really great right now. Things are amazing. No issues, no worries. So your prayer life might let up a little bit. Reading in the Bible might let up. Growth, personally, professionally, might let up. Oh, I'm good. Things are going real well right now. I'm just going to focus on that and ride it as long as possible. Now, trust me, when momentum comes in whatever area that is, relationships are good, business is good, money's flowing, whatever it is that you're focused on, when that's flowing, we let up because we don't have a need. We don't have a pain point, right? But even in those moments where things are good, you cannot let up pouring back into yourself, reflecting, being grateful, still asking the question. And I ask this every day, no matter what season I'm in. I am asking, okay, Lord, where can I grow? Where can I refine? Where can I surrender? Where can I be more like you? Every season. And there's going to be some very big, amazing, fruitful seasons coming ahead because your girl's planted a lot of seeds, a lot of seeds. And so when seeds are planted, a harvest will come. And we're having a great harvest right now, but there's going to be an even bigger one. The Lord is literally preparing for a massive harvest. So I'm going to give you actually insight to a vision that he gave me. He's been kind of dropping this into my spirit for a little bit, and then he finalized it. I don't think it's completely done, but he gave me a bigger picture talking about this harvest that is coming. And I know this is going to resonate with many people. By the way, when you hear people talking about harvest, when you hear people talking about multiplication and the big things that are coming, one of the things that I have learned, this is a rabbit trail, but an important one. One of the things that I have learned, Lord, is that my season? Is that my season? Because a lot of us, me included, I've gotten caught up on different prophetic words and got caught up on like, oh, it's coming, it's coming. And I wasn't in the right season. I wasn't in the right season, but I didn't ask because I wanted the season of multiplication and harvest so bad. That's all I focused on rather than how can I steward the season that I'm in? And when you look at seasons, look at them as spring, summer, fall, and winter. So a summer season is a harvest season. We all want that one. Fall is a time where the dead falls off and pruning needs to happen. Winter is more of like a cave season, right? If it's snowing outside, it's cold, it's a cave season. You're in a hiding season. You're in a growing, nurturing, pruning, like really refining in the dark. A wilderness season even would be a winter season. In spring, this is where things start to blossom, start to bloom. So what season are you in? Be real with yourself and ask the Lord, what season am I in? If you don't know, ask. I would always assume that I'm jumping into a summer season. That was always my mindset, to a fault, because I'm like, we have to be jumping into a summer season. The harvest is here. I've planted so many seeds. And many times I would end up disappointing myself because it was not the season that I was truly in. And I was probably in a very prolonged winter season because I was not getting the season that I was in. God had to keep working on me. He had to keep working on me. So when I talk about, the harvest that I know that the Lord has shown me that is coming, it may not be that for you yet. And that's okay. Seasons are powerful as far as a metaphor, but there's a purpose in every season. Summer, we get to enjoy the harvest. We get to enjoy the sunshine. We get to be outside. We get to go on vacations and trips. Fall, things start to turn over, change, and die off to get ready for the new that's going to come the following year. Winter, hibernation. There's a little bit of tucking in for people that don't live in Southern California where it's like sunny and 75 all the time. People that live in states where it is blistering cold, lots of snow, rain, all the things. You got to be inside. More of a hibernation. Spring, when things blossom, beautiful, right? Rain comes, flowers bloom. It's beautiful. So understanding what season you're in is so powerful. There is a time and a season for everything. So when it comes to the unexpected turns that come in, let's talk about being proactive. When we're in a fruitful season and we're seeing the harvest, a lot of us let off the gas. And you're like, oh, I don't need to do the same things that I was doing. When God gives you a plan and a purpose, you are hitting the gas no matter what. And yes, there's going to be an ebb and a flow. There's going to be braking. There's going to be hitting the gas harder. There's going to be pausing, asking him, okay, what do I do in this moment? Where do you want me in this moment? And allow him to lead you rather than your feelings or your circumstances to lead you. Be proactive. Be proactive. Even in the winter season, even in a season where it is maybe challenging, you're maybe in a fall season where things are falling off, dying. Like it's hard. You're losing things. You feel like you're losing everything. It's all for a purpose. And it will hurt. And there is time to grieve certain losses, right? There's time to grieve actually all losses, and we get to make time to do that. Because eventually you're going to have to grieve it at some point, or otherwise it's going to come out a whole different way. But being proactive in, where am I maybe disappointed? Where do I need growth? Where do I need to fix my mindset that's not so fixated on what I want, but what you want for me, Lord? Like, it's way bigger than us. Everything that we're connected to is so much bigger than us. So I named my podcast that. It's bigger than me, because everything you do is bigger than you and has a ripple effect. Everything. So being proactive in growth, in prayer, in your spiritual life, in your walk with the Lord, in your body, in your mind. You know what's funny is, before summer hits, right? Everybody's like, oh, I got to get a six pack. I got to hurry up and get skinny. Or before an event comes, oh, I got to hurry up and lose this weight. We're going into, fall, which going into winter, which is not typically a time that people are like, oh, I want to work on my abs and get a six pack. But your girl was like, you know what? We don't do abs very often. Not that I care about a six pack, but it's the discipline it takes in the kitchen, drinking water, doing ab exercises. Your girl definitely needs to do more cardio. I do not like doing cardio. I'd rather get outside than walk rather than go to the gym and just mindlessly walk or run. But it's the discipline that it takes, because abs, everybody will tell you, abs are made in the kitchen. They're 100% made in the kitchen. But you got to build some muscle there too, and some strength. And by the way, when you build ab strength, you can talk more confidently. For all my singers and musicians out there, core strength is huge. It helps your back. It helps your posture. It helps everything. It's the stabilization of what you are. So I'm like, there's so many benefits. Why shouldn't I be doing this, right? Proactive. Now let's talk about the reactive part. Many of us are more reactive. Something happens. Oh, this is being done to me. Oh, of course this is going to happen. Of course, right? Like, this would happen to me. Anybody ever has said that to themselves? I have. Of course this would happen to me. What do you mean? You can't see the future. What do you mean? Of course. Were you wishing that all along? Were you worrying, which really stands for praying for something that you don't want? Like, so many of us are reactive, and they're like, oh, this is done to me. Now, sometimes when something happens out of the blue, you can't necessarily be proactive about it, but how you react to it is everything. So there are times where you will get reactions, and you have a choice. Am I going to give grace in this? Am I going to see the bigger picture? Am I going to hold my tongue, maybe count to 10, see what comes out? Is it loving? Is it edifying? When it comes to your speech, am I going to fly off the handle? Am I going to lose it? Like, so many of us are so outwardly reactive in more harmful ways than productive ways. And society is just used to that. They are used to that. For example, I was flying back from Dallas from this trip that we were just on, and I'm sitting in the seat, and all of a sudden I feel like somebody spilt water on me. I'm like, my hand's getting wet. And I'm like, okay, why is my hand getting wet? So I look over at the person next to me, which is a friend of mine. And I was like, Paige, did she spill water? No, she didn't have water in her hands. And I looked behind me. I'm like, did they spill water? And I came forward. And I was like, oddly enough, I'm like, wouldn't somebody say, so sorry, I just spilled on you? And then I felt the drop straight down, and I look up, and where the luggage is, the carry-on luggage, it's dripping. By the way, it's dripping like yellow. And I'm like, gross. What is that? So we ding the bell to have a stewardess come over, and they're like, oh my gosh, like they're low-key freaking out, but trying to keep it together, because they're like, what is that? Come to find out, in somebody's bag, there was a water bottle or some kind of a drink that spilled. And so there was water sloshing around, and it was coming through a crack. And so they wanted to make sure it wasn't like some kind of fluid that was, it was going to be a problem. But I was still getting leaked on. I was still getting leaked on with this yellow stuff. I'm like, this is disgusting. Now, it looked like it was water, and then whatever was just left over in those cracks, because it's not like they clean it out, was dripping on me. And the stewardess came up to me several times. Once she gave me like a handful of napkins, and I shoved them up there to like try to soak up the water. She was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. You could just tell by her demeanor, she was waiting for me to go off. She was waiting for me to lose it. And I was like, it's totally okay. Like, it's not your fault. Accidents happen. Now, I will tell you this. I love wearing white. If I was wearing white and that dripped on my white anything, I would probably be a little perturbed, but still not her fault. So in that instance, the stewardess was waiting for me to lose it on her and blame her and just ream her. I could tell. I could tell. People around me were watching. I could feel it. Is this person going to lose it or not? I'm like, it's okay. Don't worry about it. It is all good. Like, no worries. I'm going to shower when I get home. It's okay. And she was like, okay, thank you for being so calm about it, being so nice about it. It's like, it's all right. So in that moment, I could have lost it. In that moment, I could have got frustrated. People were looking at me expecting that from me, but I didn't do it. Why? Because it wasn't the right thing and it wasn't her fault and accidents happen. So in that moment, it was a bigger moment than just me. People were watching. I knew it. How I was going to react was going to say a lot about me and it was going to show other people. But in that moment, I was just cool, calm, and collected. It is what it is. Now, if that happened to another person, who knows what would have happened, right? I've seen people go off on stewardesses or anybody at the airport for far less because it's like, oh, you're inconveniencing me. Things happen. And we have to be able to roll with the punches and understand that things aren't directly happening to us, but we get to give a response. So I hope you're hearing me in what I'm sharing when it comes to proactive versus reactive. And then when there is a reaction that comes out, how are you reacting? Is it in love, grace, a sound mind? Or is it just anger, fear, anxiety? How could somebody do this to me out of selfish intent? You know, a lot of people think that things are happening to them and everybody's out for them. No, people are just doing their own thing. And as a byproduct, sometimes it has a chain reaction, right? So when life hits you with unexpected turns, okay, what can I learn from this? What can I get from this? How can I become a better person out of this? How can I show if somebody else is involved, love and grace in this? That has taken me a long time to learn. And by the grace of God, I have an amazing husband that shows that to me. I have amazing business partners, incredible community and Kingdom Alliance, like just grace filled. And when I see somebody that ever comes into the community or anybody that I see that is not grace filled, my heart breaks for them because I didn't learn how to give grace or even really what it was until like a couple years ago. And it's always a learning lesson, always a learning lesson and an opportunity. So when life has these unexpected turns, we get to stay focused still. Now, some of these unexpected turns might take a little bit of time away from that purpose. We may have to adjust. I don't believe in life there's actually any balance at all. I believe it's a harmony. So you're going to have a different harmony going through life because it's never going to be fully balanced. Like balance is a myth. Balance is a myth. Now, I believe when people say you need to be more balanced, typically what they're referring to is you're usually on one side of the pendulum or the other. So trying to meet somewhere in the middle. But go with the harmony, because when you look at life as a harmony and it's like, you know, up and down and you're adjusting based on what you need to adjust for that day, because every day brings something different. Here's what I'm focused on. And whatever life throws at me, I'm going to stay focused and get the things I need to get done no matter what. And if I couldn't for whatever reason, because something really came in and threw me off, that's okay. I have tomorrow. At least I hope I have tomorrow. You just do the best you can with what you have. And release the expectations that you need to do X, Y, and Z all the time. So many people put their identity in what they do, their purpose, how they serve people. Your identity should only be in God, period. Period. And he's not expecting perfection out of you. But what he wants out of you is to be more like Jesus, to be more grace-filled, to be more loving, to be bold, to be courageous, to take action, to have big faith, to trust him even when he's leading you somewhere you don't want to go. He's telling you to do things that you're like, this is painful. Why are you doing this? Well, it's like the image that we have seen, or maybe you haven't. Most have, I believe. This image is always circulating around on the internet where this little girl has this little teddy bear. She wants to hold it on tight and Jesus wants to take it from her. And behind his back, he has a big old teddy bear because he wants to give her something bigger. Like that is what he wants to do for us constantly. But we have to be willing to let go of things that we're like, no, not that. Yes, that. Because chances are you've probably put more stock into that, lordship even into that, more than him. So what I want to leave you with here is many of us have to stop crowning our circumstances as the king of our life. We'll look at our bank account. We'll look at the state of our marriage. We'll look at what our business isn't doing, what our marriage isn't. Our kids are or they aren't, what the house that we're in that we're not in. Like we'll look at that and we'll let it dictate like the success that we're having. Unexpected turns, all it's doing is building character. It's testing you. A lot of those turns probably aren't fair. Some of those turns are probably self-induced of decisions that you've made, people that you have in your life. So the question you get to ask yourself is, what do I get to learn from this? How can I refocus? If you had a child come to you being like, all these things came up, well, what do I focus on now? What would you tell them? How would you tell somebody young and learning about the world, about their mind, about who they need to be, who they get to be? How would you tell them and what would you tell them to focus on? How can you reprioritize? Life is just about like, okay, we got to shift here. We got to pivot here. And how we react is everything. So that's why being as proactive as possible, pouring into your mind, body, your spirit, like all the things, being more grace-filled, more loving, like, so when it's game time and you're tested, you're pulling from somewhere that you know to be true. Not something you just read, but you know to be true because it's developed roots in your heart. Hopefully that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. So we got to stop crowning our circumstances as king because circumstances don't define us. They're just ways to build character. And it's feedback. Okay, what do I get to do from here? And be still and patient and let the Lord lead you and let him answer. Have wise people, mentors around you. Allow them to speak into you. Don't allow everybody to speak into you. Wise counsel isn't going to be a crowd. It's going to be a select few. But we get to have those people around us. And if we don't, and if you're looking for some, like reach out. Comment mentor below. Like I had searched for years to find a mentor until the Lord told me before I found one, you need to become the mentor that you always needed. And I said, how? He's like, let me show you. Let me show you. Now I get to mentor thousands all around the world inside of our community. And I'm so honored and grateful to do that. That is only by his grace and his leading. Don't be fooled by just the money people make that they have made it and they're the one for you. It's not all about the money. It's not all about the money. Look at the inner person. Look at the obedience that they have. Look at how they live their life in private and in public. Like all of it matters. All of it matters. Money's just a byproduct. Now, I believe we should be making great money so that we can be able to do great things. Like I believe that as well. It's a both and. But there's a lot of people who make great money and they are rotten on the inside, broken, so broken on the inside. I'm not looking for 100% healed people, but I am looking for people that are obedient, that are servant-hearted, that want to go after what God has ordained on their life and the purpose and the anointing they have on their life. All of that is way deeper than the surface. And it takes time to get to know people and their character. Like dig deeper to yourself and dig deeper when finding a mentor. So I hope that this was helpful when it comes to stewarding life's unexpected turns. It's how we react. It's how we're proactive, understanding the seasons that we're in and asking the question, okay, what's next? What is next? So definitely comment what you're learning. Put hashtag replay if you're watching the replay. Love being on live with you. And I will see you tomorrow for day 17. Bye, everybody.